My name is Ryan Pack, and this is Soundtrack Your Life, where we speak with a guest about a soundtrack that is important to them. Today, we have the honor to speak to Limahl. He was and is the lead singer of Kajagoogoo, and he also sings the theme for the 1984 film The NeverEnding Story. Welcome, Limahl.
Hi, Ryan. Lovely to be with you.
So you have a new single out, and it's
Uh-huh.
great. It's a cover of America's A Horse with No Name.
Uh-huh.
So why did you choose to cover that song?
I've always loved it. And as a songwriter myself, I don't think it's a song I could have ever written. It's so unique lyrically. I know that the writer of the song from the band America, Dewey Bunnell, his father was in an Air Force base near the desert. So Dewey spent some of his childhood going through New Mexico desert and the Arizona desert. From where I live in Manchester, there are no deserts, I can assure you, in the UK. So that I don't think a song like that was ever going to come from me. But the irony is that the song was actually written. Did you know this? It was actually written in the UK in a town called Puddletown in Dorset. Now, how's that for a Harry Potter sounding town? Puddletown.
Yeah.
So I love the song, and it's been in my subconscious with the two voices in my head. Don't touch a classic, that's dangerous. Or uh, can I do anything with this because I love it? And really, every creative, whether it's making film or writing a book or music or even drawing as an artist, has unfinished work, and I've plenty on my shelf. You know, you start something and for whatever reason you get block, you get stuff, work gets in the way, family gets in the way, whatever, you get sick, whatever it is. And that just did not happen with Horse. It came together rather nicely. I mean, I did work really hard, but it almost came to me sometimes. I remember my early thoughts were, I've got to make it my own. I've got to try to be faithful to the original, but put my own stamp on it if I can. And so I thought the first way I could do that is to steer away from the lovely acoustic guitar that sort of drives the overriding personality in the production of the original. And I started playing around with the electronica. There's a great synthesizer that came out around 1980, and actually we used one in the Kajagoogoo video for Too Shy. It's called a Roland Jupiter 8, and it was the new synthesizer kid on the block, really. And now you can just get it as an audio plugin, which is what I'm using. And I just got this lovely sequencer going. It's a bit like a wah-wah guitar. The envelope opens, and through and as a chord, and then a music chord, and then just throwing lots of nice reverbs on it. And immediately I just thought, oh, this is so nice. And it's kind of progressed from there. So I was steering away from the guitar. A lot of new music makers, young new music makers today, are being influenced by the 80s and 90s. And of course I was there the first time. And so I sort of I went down the sort of 90s production route with with the rhythms and stuff and some of the sounds. And I just kept really enjoying it when I was listening back to it. I have a break. It took me quite a while. It's been in my back pocket for a while. And then I did a TV show in the UK with a popular singer here called Jane MacDonald. And I was performing NeverEnding Story, actually. And I had to rehearse for the band, and I met this great guitarist she uses called Steve Cooper, who's based in Birmingham. And I sent the files to Steve and said, look, I don't know if I'm going to use guitar. I thought I'd be steering away from guitar, but would you throw some ideas down, And what came back was so phenomenally good. And I started, I took a couple of weeks editing the guitar. There was so much choice. And then it was like, a no-brainer, you know, this is the icing on the cake. And so you have this wonderful blend of the electronica and this great, very different guitar from Steve Cooper, and still being faithful to the song. But there are three different things in my version. One, we open with the la-las,
Mhm.
so that's a new introduction. There's a key change, which is not in the original, and that was just, again, this part of the organic process of creating. Let's try a key change there. Oh, that's nice. That lifts it up, you know, something new. And then in the final chorus, to use the two vocal motives, so crisscrossing each other, so the la la and the main hook. Been through the desert on a horse with no name. It's sort of akin to a choir. I sort of like to compare it to something like the Mamas and Papas of the 60s, because I love their records. And I'm old school, listen to me records.
We're very pro physical media on this podcast.
Yes. And that's really a long answer to your question about, you know, how and why my version of A Horse with No Name came together.
Yeah, I got a advanced copy to it, and it was great. I like the song, the original, and I like what you did with it. I think it is faithful, but it is definitely not like a carbon copy of it either.
You know
So
what's surprising? The tempo is basically the same. I've done a couple of interviews and people say, "Oh, you've speeded it up." No, they're both 125. It's just with the 4 on the floor bass drum and you know, a lot punchier in terms of the drums. I think the original is more acoustic, is percussion going on and acoustic guitar. The first verse of the original is a tad slower, and then they sort of speed it up as they get to verse 2. Something that sometimes bands do in a live situation to, you know, to pick songs up. No, I'm thrilled with it. And what will happen with it, I don't know. It'd be nice to get the approval of America. I don't know if they've heard it yet. But if I do, it'll be straight on my social media because there would be no better stamp of approval.
right. Yeah, and I think you've done a great job with it. I think it's a new take on it without, making it into something that's unrecognizable.
That's great. I'll take that.
So you have my stamp of approval, though
Yeah.
I'm not in America. I'm in the country of America, but not in the band.
Yep, yep.
So this is your first single since 2020. Do you have any plans to tour on it, or are you just kind of looking at what the response to the song is first?
Well, I need a good excuse to tour. I do a lot of single shows. You know, I tend to do like music festivals, not unlike Glastonbury, but for a lot of retro festivals
Sure.
around the world. They're really popular now. So, you know, there's several in the UK, and then globally there's many. So whether there's a multi-artist lineup, and people kind of go. It's a big day out. Usually, sometimes there's even a fun fair for the kids. It's a family day out. There's a big stage. There's food stalls. And if the weather's good, you know, it's great fun. And then, of course, you get a lineup of artists and songs that relate to people's journey, the important songs, you know. I can't tell you the many times that people have come up to me and said, "Too Shy" was the first record I bought. Wow, or Our First Dance at the Wedding. Uh, and similarly, really with NeverEnding Story. So, those are I'm going to Reykjavik in Iceland for the first time. I think it's September, so I'm
Oh wow.
looking forward to that. I'm also playing at the Pride Festival in Cologne in July. You know, every December, I always never quite sure where the next year is going to take me. These two songs, Too Shy with Kajagoogoo and NeverEnding Story, and I hope Horse with No Name maybe at some point. They just, in the old school language, say keep the phone ringing. You know, They're just, they're big hits in every country almost, and it's been a wonderful journey. It is a wonderful journey I'm having still.
Right, and I would assume with NeverEnding Story, I mean, did you expect that to be a huge success or for it to have lived as long as it has? I know that, you worked with Giorgio Moroder, who's obviously like a legend, but, what was kind of your thoughts when when you got the call to work on that song?
Well, firstly, I think if I had known how important that track was gonna become in my life, I would have gone to bed early that night, the night before I recorded it. Instead, I was out till 3 a.m. Come on, I'm 23 years old. I was out clubbing, smoking cigarettes, drinking alcohol. I had a hangover. I almost missed the flight to Munich where Giorgio Moroder, the producer, had his studio. And and when I got there, I was so tired I couldn't sing a note. And it's quite high, the song, it's we tried the vocal in the afternoon and it wasn't coming. My voice was going, go away, I'm tired." And, but, we had some wine and some food and kind of relaxed, and then, when you're 23, your body recovers a lot quicker from the night before, and I nailed it about 8 p.m. So the answer to your question is no, I had no idea. And if I had had an idea, I would have been a very sensible boy and gone to bed early. It's very hard to know. You can hear things coming back because I think success depends on so many pieces of the jigsaw puzzle coming together. And so many people can influence that outcome. Did you ask me, Ryan, how the song came about? I'm sorry,
Yeah, like how did that collaboration come together?
so Giorgio Moroder, the producer, if you get a call from him back in those days, it would be like an actor getting a call from Steven Spielberg. I mean, it was just
Right.
that important. Giorgio Moroder, this electronic pioneer, I Feel Love, Donna Summer, um, 3 Academy Awards, I think, for music from film. So Top Gun, uh,
Midnight
you
Express.
You Take My Breath Away by the
Right.
band Berlin from Top Gun. Midnight Express was the first one, yes, and there was no song there really, it was just the theme music to a very powerful film, dark film. And, um, and then, of course, there was Flashdance, What a Feeling, Irene Cara. So, anyway, I was when Kajagoogoo broke up, my first solo single was called Only for Love, and the and EMI Records asked me to go to Japan to perform at the Tokyo Music Festival. So went off to Japan, very excited to go there for my first time. The Budokan Hall is this stunning, famous historic building in Tokyo, a bit like the Royal Albert Hall in London. I think it's circular. And um, and that's where I met Giorgio Moroder. I was there with my manager at the time, Billy Gaff, an Irish guy who'd worked with Rod Stewart. Billy took Giorgio to dinner, and I can just hear Billy now. He was such an entrepreneur. Billy would have been saying in his lovely Irish accent, Limahl's going to be the best thing since sliced bread. Because that's the way he was. Billy's parties in Chelsea were infamous, and he was a real networker. So that happens, and unbeknown to me, Giorgio was a fan of the Kajagoogoo song because it was a big hit in the States. So, there's a bit of serendipity, a bit of luck, if you like. Got back to the UK after Japan. Manager received a call. I'd like to try Limahl's voice on a new movie soundtrack that I'm working on. That was very exciting, the idea of putting my voice. Because Kajagoogoo was not an overnight sensation. Yes, our first single went to number one all over the world practically, but I think I'd been in like 3 theater shows, musicals, singing. I'd been in singing lessons in demo studios, 3 other bands before I met Kajagoogoo. And of course, with Kajagoogoo too, they'd all learnt their instruments and done gigs. There were previously another band called Art Nouveau as a 4-piece band before I joined, became the 5th member. So, it was not an overnight sensation. We all worked very hard for it, but when it came, it just felt fantastic. And sorry, I've digressed, and I forgot the original. I do this, I go off piste, then I think, "What was the original question? What was the original question again?" We're talking about how Giorgio Moroder. So, yeah,
Yeah.
so so I flew back from Munich. I'd done the vocal, and for 2 days, I didn't hear anything. Then my manager called and said, "Giorgio likes the vocal, and he's gonna use it." So I thought, "Great." And then, of course, they're editing the movie or they're still filming the movie, and Giorgio's working on the soundtrack. EMI Records signed the soundtrack. That was my label. And then, of course, the film came out, the song came out. I l literally I must have traveled the world doing promotion for that song. Took almost a year of my life. L All over Europe. The song was huge, number 1 in 17 countries. I mean, it just took my breath away, and it was such a surprise. The biggest surprise is, ironically, the title is coming true. Because, as you know, the NeverEnding Story has been picked up. You may already know it's been picked up by a big production company to be turned into a live action series for one of the big streaming companies, I believe. I think there were rumors it was Disney, but I don't know. It might all be top secret. There's a musical of the NeverEnding Story being adapted for stage in Spain. I went to the opening night and sang with the cast after the show, and that's called La Historia Interminable, and it's all in Spanish, and it's absolutely stunning. I watched it even though I don't really speak Spanish, and the investment into this stage production is just phenomenal by Beyond Entertainment. That's now running in Barcelona. I guess there's always a chance, if it's done well, that it will get picked up, either translated to English or will play in other Spanish speaking territories. So it goes on. And I think if I'd known how important the song was going to become, I wouldn't have got any sleep that night. I'd have been terrified.
So when did you first see the movie? It doesn't sound like you saw it before you recorded the song.
No, I knew nothing because the original book was in German.
Mhm.
So the German title, best-selling book of children's book of all time by German author Michael Ende, and the title was Die unendliche Geschichte or Geschichte. It's quite a mouthful, but kind of beautiful, I think. Yeah, he didn't like the film. Did you know that? How's that for controversy? There's always something, isn't there? You can please some of the people some of the time. But again, I forgot the question. Sorry.
So when did you first see the film and
Oh,
kind of what
yeah,
was your
when it
reaction
says,
to it?
yeah, it's when did I first see the film? Hmm. When I recorded the song, they put a green screen. There was a green screen behind my head, and they said to me, "Clips of the film will go here, Limahl. You just keep performing." So even at that point, I had no idea about and at 23, I was just I was a bit of a party boy. I wasn't delving too deeply into anything cultural, just music. So I think I attended a premiere of the film somewhere in Europe, and that's the first time that I saw it. Yeah,
And did you think it was just like a children's movie, or did what were your thoughts?
I thought it was adorable. I love the opening sequence where the boy steals the book, and the old man says, "No, you don't want this book. This is a very special book." I actually have a copy here. I'm leaning over for it. Which I'll show you. You like that?
Oh, very cool. Oh, that's great.
Yeah, I love that. And of course, he runs off with a book. It's just the sort of thing a young boy would do, especially a boy who's like really into adventure books.
Yeah.
No, it's a gorgeous story, and like all good stories, it has its dark moments, its scary moments. I can't tell you how many people have somehow. I mean, obviously, people are devastated when Artax, the beautiful white horse, is going down in the quicksand. I've seen people on social media saying, "I can't watch, I can't watch." The wolf is very scary section, but the creatures are wonderful. The rock monster,
Yeah.
the luck dragon, that can fly. I mean, just beautiful work. There's a documentary out, have you seen it, called, but yeah, I forgot to mention that in the list of things. So the making of the NeverEnding Story. Have you heard about that?
I've heard of it, I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, I mean, the footage in that, what they've put together. I met Tammy Stronach for the first time at the screening in London a few months ago, and I was just blown away. You know, when you get behind the scenes and see the real skills and the talent of this huge team that's involved, all with this driving passion to create something wonderful, it's very moving, and it just makes me so proud to be a part of it.
Yeah, and so I read that they filmed the movie. There's a German composer who scored it, and then they brought in Giorgio to add music and obviously add the theme song, which, is where he brought in you. I guess the Germans, when they saw it when it first premiered, it did not have your song or any of Giorgio's music.
Yeah, and in the same way, America's first album, when it was released, it did not have A Horse With No Name in Europe. The song was not on that album, and the album wasn't doing that great. And then the record company said, "Do you have any more songs?" And so it could have been the first album, might have been the second. So the band says, "Yeah, well, we've got this other song, the Desert Song, but we don't really like it." Anyway, they went off and developed the song. Then it was put onto the album and re-released, then became this huge success. I think that's why when you're close to a project, you can't always know the right thing to do. What's the right song? I've heard Elton John talk about that. He jokingly says, "Oh, I can't pick the singles, I haven't got a clue." Because you just get too close to the work and you can't judge it anymore. Yeah, and sometimes you're actually even fed up with it. So leave it to maybe other people who bring a fresh perspective.
Right. I've read that you also sang it in French. I assume that wasn't like the first plan.
So in 1984, French radio had a rule. It's like a union rule that only so much foreign language music could be played. And so the record company requested that I sing it in French. And je ne parle pas français. Je suis désolé. I d- I don't, so they literally brought in a linguist to teach me line by line. I had to sing that song in French, and it was a challenge. French has got its uh, accents, shall we say. It's a lovely language. I mean, I think the whole world likes French, but to really be so popular in France. So Anne Calvert, I think, was or she would be, with a T without an E in French. You won't, you don't. The rule in French is if there's no E after the consonant, you don't pronounce the consonant. So it would be Anne Calvert, probably. So yeah, I met Anne, and that's it. I went in, did my vocal, came away, and they mixed it. And I guess the record company, the conglomerate. I mean, when you're signed with these monster conglomerates, you have to play ball. You kind of, it's a two-way street. You've got a whole I mean, it's easy to complain, you know,
Right.
but when you've got a record deal with a massive company like that, and that's why Kajagoogoo were foolish throwing it all away, firing me, because they thought they were a teeny band and it was my fault, so let's get rid of the pretty boy singer, you know, but the Beatles were a teeny band and Duran were a teeny band and Wham were a teeny band, and you grow out of that stuff. I forgot what I was saying now. I've done it again.
Well, you were talking about how they made you record it in France and how you gotta play ball with the label.
So you gotta play ball. You gotta play the game. It's a two-way street. So EMI Records asked me to go to France and do this, and I said yes. I said yes. Uh, and that's how that came about.
Yeah, it's funny because in the movie That Thing You Do, they tell the band to record in Spanish. That's kind of the last straw for that band to break up in the movie. 'Cause they're
Which
like,
movie is
"Alright,
that?
That Thing You Do?"
That Thing You Do. I've never
Yeah.
seen it.
It's great. Tom Hanks directed it, and it's about, like, the '60s, pop band, and they have this one song called That Thing You Do, and they become an overnight sensation, and then, they start different personality issues start coming up, and they're basically about to break up, and then the manager brings them in the studio, and the lead singer is like, "I've got some new songs," and the manager goes, "No, we got to record That Thing You Do in Spanish," and that's when the lead singer finally has had enough.
So I like Tom Hanks. When did that film come out?
95. It's a
Okay,
great
I'm
film.
gonna go and find that. I like it. I like the sound of that. I love anything like that. Yeah. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Oh, the smallest things can break up a band. I think one of the problems is you spend suddenly spending, you could argue, too much time with each other. And then certain things get said that can't be unsaid. There's arguments over silly things. We're using this photo. No, we're not. We're doing this gig. No, we're not. We're using that um, mix. No, we're not. And so it goes on, you know. And then there'll be what's the word I'm looking for? There will be natural allegiances, you know. So the problem with Kajagoogoo was they were a four-piece for 3 years before I joined. And even though they brought me in, so I was always kind of the outsider. And I think it's a miracle really that we managed to do one album. And thank God we, you know, we've got that legacy of that one album and the single Too Shy, because we were all pulling musically from such different directions. But I still wish that we would have done one or two more albums at least. It's a big what if in my life. Now, everyone's got what ifs in their life. What if I'd gone to this town, I wouldn't have met that partner? What if I hadn't gone there, I wouldn't have got that job because I met so and so? I mean, it goes on, you know.
Right.
So I'll never know. But the irony is, if the band hadn't split, would I have got the opportunity to do the NeverEnding Story? Not sure, because I certainly wouldn't have been in Japan as a solo artist. So how's that for
Mhm.
irony?
Right. And I must say, Too Shy, great song. Love that song.
Oh gosh, I could say so much about Too Shy. I'll tell you what, I can say this. A Horse with No Name had 2 demos before the final recording that became known. Same with Too Shy. So we had a demo that we did at home. Then there was a demo in a demo studio. And then the final recording with Nick Rhodes of Duran Duran co-producing with their producer, Colin Thurston. And that's important because when you've got 5 personalities in a band and the guitarist wants the guitar louder and the drummer wants the drum snare up, etc., you need someone at the helm, the captain of the ship, that just cracks the whip and says, "Get out the studio and leave us to do our job." And of course, as a new band, that's what we had to do. We had to do as we were told. They were like the teachers, really, great teachers. And Colin, the late Colin Thurston, bless him, he brought such a brilliant kind of old school engineer head to the whole production. You know, he knew what equipment to hire if the studio didn't have it. I remember him hiring some something for the bass drum. It was a valve compressor or something that, and it really made a difference. Yeah, if you get an engineer that knows their stuff, can be really helpful. And then, of course, Nick was great with arrangements and ideas, and just an inspiration to have involved, really. Nick Rhodes of Duran.
Yeah, I mean, the song still sounds fresh today, and, your vocals are great, melodies are great. I remember, like, you know, being a kid and loving that song, but also being young enough to not ask who sings the song or what the song title is. So, it was great to kinda rediscover that, and, watch your performances on YouTube of it, and vocals are still great as well.
And, the journey of a song is so interesting because 40 years later, I can look back. It's been used, I think it was used in season 9 of American Horror Story, where they actually featured Kajagoogoo in the storyline. And that was a thrill, an absolute thrill. And the song, of course, suddenly reaches a whole new generation. And the parents are going, ah, we know this song. We were there the first time.
Right.
And then the same with NeverEnding Story and Stranger Things, season 3 finale. And then I saw the online streams got from 300,000 a month to 1.5 million, which is the average at the moment for NeverEnding Story. Just phenomenal. The journey of a song. I think Too Shy was used in Adam Sandler movie, 90s movie, The Wedding Singer.
Mhm.
NeverEnding Story was featured in a Hugh Grant film in the, I think, 90s, early noughties. I think it was called Song and Lyrics, Music and Lyrics, or something like that.
Music and lyrics, yeah.
Music and lyrics, and of course been used around the world in other languages. Yeah, I think NeverEnding Story was used in the National Lottery in Sweden, in TV commercials and radio commercials, and of course it's played on the radio all over the world, and it's appeared on countless compilation albums. So the songs have been incredibly good to me. They really have.
So when it was going to be featured on Stranger Things, did you get any sort of notification about it from your manager? Like, did you know about how Stranger Things has kind of done this for other songs before that?
I had no idea about Stranger Things. I wasn't watching the show. Although, looking back, I should have been, 'cause the soundtrack alone was worth watching. The music they were using was so great. Um, no, it was a surprise, and that was almost like part of the fun that I didn't know about this thing, and then suddenly I'm seeing all this stuff online, and my sister's kids are calling me or messaging me going, "OMG," they call me Uncle C, 'cause my real name's Chris, so I'm
Mhm.
Uncle Chris. And they call me Uncle C, have you seen? Have you seen? Going absolutely crazy, getting so excited, and then of course I'm excited as well because I see the youth. I mean, my nephews are in their early 20s, so yeah, it's been amazing. It's still amazing, and I wonder where in the future they're going to turn up even more.
Right. I mean, with this new live action series that is in the works, I mean, I'm sure they're gonna feature your song somehow.
Well, if you know anyone involved, put a word in because I doubt it. I doubt they'll wanna use the original. They probably wanna, you know, the conglomerates will get their heads together and, the Disney will who are associated with whatever record company. It's a bit cruel that way, actually. When I was looking for a record deal, there were about 40 independent record companies in London or the UK at the time, and now the conglomerates have swallowed them all up, and they control everything. Sony, Warner, Universal, and BMG, and it's
Right.
very tough out there. You can have the best song in the world, and you go to see a record company, and they'll say, "What are your streaming numbers on TikTok?" Uh, it's like, that's what's more important. They see an immediate audience and the marketing head. It's all about marketing, and it does feel a bit like, I mean, I believe they still have an A&R department, artists and repertoire, that's supposed to sign the artists. But, all the musicians of my era were all complaining that the business is being run by lawyers and accountants. But, we have to gripe about something, don't we?
Well, I'm glad that you got that bump from Stranger Things. I mean, obviously, it's done great for, I think, Joy Division and Kate Bush as well,
Yeah.
and obviously American Horror Story, that's another really iconic show. I believe, Black Mirror also uses Too Shy.
Oh, yes, of course. Yeah, Black Mirror. I forgot about that one. And it was in a computer game as well. Yeah, I should have this list. I did know, but I forget. I forget. I get so distracted. I hope the same will happen with one of my new musics from the last 5 years because it's such a different world now. So I had a solo single in the pandemic year when I had a lot more time. I had a beautiful song. I'm so proud of it. It's called Still in Love with a very it's a very uh it's a poignant lyric in the verse. This kind of pining, slightly dark in places, and then this optimistic feeling in the chorus. And that again, that was just an organic accident in the creative process. So I'm proud of that. And then I did a Christmas song, which I plug like crazy every November and December. That's called One Wish for Christmas. Again, made a beautiful video, hired a choreographer in a theater, put this lovely video together. And I'm so proud of the song that I wrote with the pianist from the Savoy Hotel in London, John Nicol. And then here I am with Horse. People say to me, "Oh, where's the album? Where's the this? Where's the that?" And I say, "Look, it's quality, not quantity with me. As a self-releasing artist, I have to take my time. I've got to have the right amount of I've got to have the right product, the right amount of energy. Everything takes time and money. But I hope one day, maybe, even in sometime in the next 10 years, maybe that somehow these tracks will get picked up and I'll be having another conversation with you about. I have spoke to Warners who own the rights, the copyright to A Horse with No Name. Indeed, I had to get their permission. They have a synchronization department. This is the department that um, touts for placing music within commercials and movies, etc. So I've got dialogue with them, and they are sending the track out, and they do like it. Um, so we'll see.
Yeah, I think it would do great in commercials. I think it's a great version. Obviously, people recognize the song.
It's just got to fall on the right
Yeah.
table at the right ears at the right time, and you'll never know unless you try. And if it fails, fine, but at least I can say, well, look, I tried.
I'll pitch it to my co-host who couldn't be here today. She works in advertising, so
Yes, great. See, there you go.
yeah, I'll be like, "Hey, push it, push it. You couldn't be here for the interview, so the least you could do is help push the single, see if you could put it in the
Yeah.
commercial."
Yeah, there you go. Perfect.
We will do what we can. I mean, I think it's a great version. Like I said earlier, yeah, I would love to see that in a commercial. I think it would do great.
Well, check out the video. I had so much fun making the video. Lots of green screen, which of course allowed us to have a lot of fun with those lyrics, you know.
Yeah.
I can't even say the word, hallucinogenically influenced. No, I mean, it gave us a license to just create this. It's like one of those crazy dreams when you wake up and you're either glad it's over or you want to go straight back to it. So do check that out. I think it's going to be a big selling point for it's a real bonus, visual bonus to the audio.
Oh, I've seen it.
You have.
Yeah. Your publicist sent it over, and I was like, "Oh, this is very cool."
Good. I'll take very cool. That's good. That's good.
Yeah, I mean, I think the whole way that you're packaging and presenting it, I think it's it would I know that there are a lot of factors that are in play to make something a success, but I think you've done your part.
What and that's all I can do. That's all I can do. And then the rest is just like with this whole conversation, you know, it chance meeting of Nick Rhodes, the Embassy Club where I was a waiter, the chance meeting of Giorgio Moroder. But those chance meetings would have only been a chance meeting if I hadn't had some, if I hadn't been at some point or had some product or been ready for those opportunities, if you like. So I know people say, well, you make your own luck. I think there's a little bit of that. I mean, nothing's going to fall onto your lap, unless you win the lottery or something. So,
Yeah,
yeah. And I often say, nothing happens if you stay at home. Just got to get out there, put yourself out there, take the knocks, and
right.
hopefully what doesn't kill you will make you stronger, as they say.
Yeah, you can't. What is it? You can't score if you don't shoot.
I like that. Exactly.
And
Yeah.
then this someone said this about luck, and I've used this since I've heard it. So it's not my. I didn't come up with. I did not coin this term, but I think you'll like it. But they say luck is opportunity meeting preparation.
Woo! Ha ha. Well, without sounding conceited or anything, I think that is 100% true, you know. Unless, of course, there's nepotism involved, and
Right.
then you might, but you still got to have the skill to a certain extent. I knew a guy who got a job at a company in the UK, a good job, and he was up for with 6 other people, but of course, his uncle his uncle was related to a friend of whatever it was. Of course, he got the gig. So, that's a factor, but I don't have
Right.
that factor here. But, I have been known. I have been known to get gigs, gigs across the world, because the boss's wife had a poster of me on the wall. I might do a corporate show or something, and I'll take that. I mean, if that's what it takes, bring it on.
So I'm hoping that things will continue to do well for you. I don't know if you're aware of this, but in the US, they are putting out a limited edition of the NeverEnding Story and soundtrack on vinyl in April.
Right. Yeah, no, it's happening in the UK as well.
Oh, they're doing it in the UK as well. So yeah,
It's called Record Vinyl Day or something. Is that
yeah,
what you're having in
record store day.
Record Store Day? Yeah, absolutely. Well, why not? Why not?
So hopefully that'll also give you a bit of a boost.
Yeah, I'm sure it will, because I keep being invited to the conventions, the Comic Con. I haven't been
Mhm.
brave enough to go yet. I haven't been brave enough to go yet. Maybe one day.
It's got a lot cooler because obviously comic book movies are cool now, but
Yeah,
you will still get a lot of the people that you imagine you're going to see. You will also see those people.
yeah, yeah. I think, right time, right place. If I'm in the right frame of mind, the right energy and everything. Uh, because at the end of the day, I do like meeting people. And I love sharing stories. My problem was I'd never get through the queue because I just like talking to people, and
Um,
I love hearing their journeys. And everybody's journey is valid. Everybody is contributing to life in some way, as a collective human race. That's what it's all about, isn't it?
yeah, I agree. And I think that's why people love your music because you are writing about your experience.
Yes, yes. With Still in Love, it was my experience. One Wish for Christmas is a bit Disney. Nothing wrong with that. Bit of escapism. A Horse with No Name is someone else's um, inspiration in terms of songwriting. Production wise, I've brought something new to it. So that's could be an interesting twist. Yeah, we'll see.
Well, I wish you the best of luck. Obviously, your music is timeless. It's been we won't talk about how long it's been, but obviously if your music is still being talked about years after it's been released, I feel like it's timeless, and I think you have some great songs that people still love to this day. And obviously now they're putting it into TV shows and stuff like that, which is great for you.
Are you gonna play my new single in this podcast, Ryan?
Yeah, I'll ask Ray for a copy. We'll let people get a taste of it at the end.
Yeah, or certainly put a link to it on your pages or your site. That would be great.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, you've got to. We've talked so much about it, you've got to.
Yeah, I'll get a copy of it, and then we'll close the episode out with not the whole thing because we want people to go and find it on their own. But
Yeah, absolutely, and don't forget that executive, advertising executive friend. Got my fingers crossed right now.
yeah, I'll tell her. But I don't know how much sway she has, but I'll be like, come on, push it. See if they'll take it.
Yeah.
So if you see it in a car commercial, you can thank us later.
Yeah!
But thank you, Limmel, for being on our podcast. It's a huge honor to have someone who had such a great soundtrack song be on our podcast.
No, I've enjoyed the reminiscing. Thank you, Ryan. All the best, and I hope to speak to you soon.
You are the Yeah, you have the biggest song that we as far as people we've had recording artists, you have the biggest soundtrack song that we've ever had. So,
Okay, well, that's great. That's great. It's been a pleasure, absolute pleasure.
and yeah, thank you so much. And we will be in touch.
All right. All the best.
Thanks to Limmel for being our guest on Soundcheck Your Life. You can check out his music at www.limmel.com. We'll have his links in our show notes as well as his social media links. You can check us out on Blue Sky at soundtrackyourlife.net and Instagram at soundtrackcast. And if you would like bonus content and early access to episodes, you can go to patreon.com/soundtrackyourlife. And to close out our episode, as promised, here is a teaser of Limmel's A Horse with No Name.
On the first part of the journey, I was looking at all the life. There were plants and birds and rocks and things, and there was sand and hills and rings. The first thing I met was a fly with a